All right, I think I'm making noise out there. Hit that like, everybody. We're getting started. Let's see.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat.
One of the cruelest things you can do to AI is get it to try and translate that nonsense.
Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
Hey, Rob, did we get unshared from the Notion between you and I? It's not showing up in my shared.
I don't think so. Let's see. You're still in, I still see you in mine.
Okay. I just did an update, so it might be being a jerk. Too bad. Working on it.
I can paste, is there a chat? And
Yeah, just,
I pasted a new, like the connect link into the chat of video.
address. Okay, got it.
My notes are at the bottom.
Oh dear, this LinkedIn AI is quite the picture. That would be the singularity that's all coming for us. We're all going to look so cool.
Yes, I looked up just to be sure, and there's a couple of definitions of singularity.
Mm-hmm.
We were both a little different than what Wiki says, but
Gotcha.
I think the answers are still the same.
All right, we're getting started. Hit Hit that like, everybody. I think there you go. Thanks, Mark P. Letting everybody know we're about to get started. Thanks, Andrea, everybody. Storm Foretold just watched the trailer. Wow, I mean, wow. Yes. Okay, here we go. Let's just jump straight in. I'm going to say hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Friday Eye. It's the morning show. It's Hal Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Also Venmo and other things that I'm supposed to say all the time, and I just forget to. If you can support the show, that's really helpful. If you can't, I totally understand. In the meantime, hit that like for me. Let people know we're out there so that I don't have to ask people to click the notification bell, which I find creepy, thanks to Russell Brand. I got to say, yes, Cole, I am traveling today. It is true. But I am traveling tonight. So I will be doing the afternoon show, and then as soon as the afternoon show is maybe even a little bit early, I will bug out and head straight to the airport to catch a plane to Minneapolis for the Minneapolis Sexy Liberal show tomorrow. So very exciting, and hopefully I will get to see a bunch of you there, not just at the show, but also at the local radio station. The progressive station there is doing a meet and greet. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. I'm going to make a visit to that if I'm not too exhausted from doing my radio show and still prepping for... I have so much to do. Hype train. Thanks, everybody on Twitch. Wherever you are, on whatever site you're watching, I'm sure there's a way that allows you to do silly things to contribute to the show, bits and stars on Facebook and that kind of stuff. Please do. There you go. All right, now, but without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on our hopefully regular guest, our dear friend Rob Glenn, the patron saint of technology. For the show, yeah, and the captain, the CEO, the driving force behind Root Design, not to be confused with Root DeBega, and which is a whole different organization. Root DeBega. So, hi, good morning. By the way, how are you?
Good. How are you, Hal?
I'm good.
And hi, Chad.
Yeah, I like the way Rob says, "How are you, Hal?" Because I really do feel like he's talking to the computer in 2001. Is that kind of tone in his voice? How are you feeling, Hal? Are you all right? I'm doing fine, Dave. It can only be attributable to human error. So we have obviously a bunch to talk about in the world of AI because, again, we talked about on the last show kind of it's coming and it's going to first hit areas where we just kind of almost areas we take for granted, probably, accounting and that kind of stuff that happens that a lot of us don't do or whatever, or programming stuff that happens behind the scenes. A lot of that stuff's going to be eaten up first. And then it's going to make its kind of like directorial debut at some point where it will take over tasks previously done by humans and kind of either loop insignificant or difficult tasks in your life, or just be there in case you ask it to, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that people are going to know when that happens. It's going to come through
so
their
seamlessly.
Already used applications, their phone, and it'll just be these things that happen that seem like they're really easy. They improved your experience, and you may not even know it's because of what we call AI right now.
Yeah, there's a there's a ring that I lost it. The Aura ring. I got it on a recommendation, though, and it's great for tracking your sleep cycles and stuff. And your Apple Watch could do that, but wearing a watch while you sleep is a little weird. Ring is pretty easy to do, so it actually was pretty terrific. I don't know. It's probably my guess is it was on my nightstand, and Chip, when he wanted to be fed, went bah and knocked it off someplace, and it is. Because it's so small, it is under something that's under something else. That's my guess.
Right.
That's my.
Maybe he swallowed it, and all the data is.
Oh yeah, it's so confused. It's like this. The app. Every time I open the app, it's like, you lazy motherfucker.
you eat too much. You sleep too much.
Eat and sleep, and then occasionally you irritate people. What kind of a life is this? I'm turning you into my AI overlords. But it is. There's apparently talk of Apple having a ring that's coming out as a Apple Watch killer, perhaps, that will have the time on it. So if you want to see what time it is, you can always look at it. and then a little bit of like a text message screen, super small, thin, but mainly it's that tracking device that's attached to your phone that you can use all the time. And according to the patent stuff that I saw, it's related to the Apple Vision and the other stuff that you can use it, I would suppose RFID style, where you could like open and close apps because you're wearing the ring. People can look at your stuff, if some stuff, but they can't look at all your stuff unless it's you wearing your ring that's typed to you and your phone is face sealed. So your privacy is going to be a part of that. But do you think we talked a little bit about data last time and how much data is going to be king, because AI will build itself right on all the available data. So do you think?
Yeah, I put into our notes a pedometer, and
Yeah.
that's like an old school pedometer was literally like a device that just had a switch, I guess you could call it,
Yeah.
that just bounced up and down, and it knew you were walking because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Your Aura Ring, a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, those are sort of the next generation, but they are working off of what used to be called machine learning, or it still is machine learning. And then I would say, so that's a sort of a middle step. And then AI would be this, or large language models would be the next step. So let's talk about that middle step for a second.
Right.
What your Aura is doing, what a Fitbit is doing, is it's just more sensors. So instead of just the up and down,
right. So habitual masturbators don't get credit for getting their steps
exactly.
in. Is essentially.
So you could fake out the pedometer by just shaking it up and down, as you say, doing whatever you do with that. And but then with a phone or anything that has more sensors, they know what direction they are going.
Right.
They know, instead of just up and down, they can understand if they're moving in any direction from zero. They might have additional information, like your watch has possibly the temperature, or the ring is, I believe, taking temperature, possibly like figuring out blood pressure and heart rate and things like that. I'm not exactly sure what Aura has in their technology, but the point is that it's more of these pieces of information. And what Aura and Fitbit does is they send that back to their database, their server, and they collect the data. And then machine learning, was sort of this off to the side thing, and it would take all that data and it would look for patterns in it. So so if your phone now is moving like you're running, it knows you're moving like the pedometer, because it has a couple of extra pieces of information, for instance, maybe the GPS data, or the sort of the rhythm of how that data is coming in. So you had to sort of offload that information, you had to analyze it, look for patterns, and it was a much more like sort of manual search, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So now the next leap is, in terms of large language models, is that you can take that data and you can teach the large language model with the data, and then you can probe it using natural language to find the pattern. So before, you had to know what the patterns were and then say, when the ring does this, your heart rate is up, and when the ring does that, you're walking. Now with LLMs, you can be a little bit more like, you don't have to like hard code it, if that makes sense. You can sort of let it.
Does that mean like
come up with its own patterns?
So I guess like updating software with new features, or a specific, I guess, hardware with new features will be increasingly easy as long as it has the data coming in. It will find new and interesting ways of interpreting, using
easier. It's the same, except now, instead of you, like a person, having to sort of connect the wires, if you will, like write the code that says, when this happens, then we think you're walking. When this happens, we think you're having a heart attack. You skip that middle step, and it sort of just knows to connect those things together. A good example of this would be like, when you're using your phone and you're logging into your bank app, and now they started doing this two-factor authentication, where they send you a text with a number in it. Well, Google or whoever's doing the Android phone or the iPhone, they had to sort of say, well, when we have to write in the code, when a text comes up that's this number and we have to identify this number, we're going to give you an alert and then you can copy and paste it and put it in.
Right.
They had to like come up with that, put it into the software code wise, put it in the phones, and then the phones started working that way. With an LLM, you skip those steps and it's going to start the LLM.
Yeah, it'll
that when
see
you
that
say,
you got, yeah.
I think I just got a text that came from Chase Bank. Tell me what the 5-digit code is. You won't even have to say that. It'll just
it'll enter it. Like right now on
that's what it's doing.
On the iPhone there is it's kind of reached a point where when you get one of those texts, it automatically, if you click paste in it, it will automatically act to paste that number in this recent code. Because I have God knows I have so many like two-factor authentication elements with like logging into Twitch on multiple computers or those kind of things, which I'm glad that they exist. It's a good thing. But it becomes, it used to be a real hassle, especially when they would email it to you as opposed to text it to you, because if you're opening it up on a new computer, setting it up on a new system, or you had to restart everything, and the only thing you have that's still in its original form, if you had to format your drive and start your computer from scratch, you can't send an email to that because you haven't been able to enter in all your email addresses and all that stuff as you're trying to get back up and running, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the difference is not that the LLM is doing it, because the LLM didn't do it. What the LLM did is it translated your desire from, I just want that 5-digit number from that text, and it was able to go get it through the phone, as opposed to Apple having a software developer connect that back at home base and then update your phone with the ability to do that.
Right.
So the compression of time happens because you don't have to hook those things up. And software is like notoriously difficult to deal with in terms of UI, because you have no idea what people's desires are. You have to literally like tell them how to do it and what to do.
Right.
Whereas with an LLM, you can just be like, save the file, and it doesn't care how it does it. It's just going to do it however it's capable of doing it on your machine.
Right. Whatever storage source it's built into that system, it will just know it. Apple is apparently revamping their entire, this was an announcement, I guess, yesterday or day before yesterday, that they are revamping their entire computer system line with M4 chips that will be integrated with AI. That is the big sales point, is that AI will become integral to the entirety of the Mac. That they are, it's interesting because I think a lot of people think of, and I thought for myself for a long time, as Apple as the primary like innovator, and then other people, like for a long time, Windows used the Mac as a development tool. Like they would wait till Mac tried it, and then they would implement a crap version of it essentially. And then there was a point where Apple, with the exception of like some certain hardware aspects of it that they were working on, in terms of UI stuff, they were so out ahead of it. Then they walked down the road way ahead of everybody else and had to walk it back. I mean, the Apple Newton is a great example of that. I had one back in the day. I thought they were awesome at the time, but it was the nerdiest of nerdiest devices. It was, for those of you who don't know, it was the first device where you could write on it and it would convert your writing to text. Right. And so in that process of, it was just an amazing step forward. You could sit there and just take notes freehand and it would enter those things, you could make written notes out of it. And it had a little cover on it, and the pencil that the stylus came stuck down into a hole in it and all this stuff. It was very clunky, but it was very Apple. It was very, it was very like 1991 Apple in that regard. And it was very cool, but it went too far ahead. And then the BlackBerry came around, and then what they decided was all screen. That's where we're going. Everybody likes the BlackBerry because it has a screen that you can touch, and it's got a few things it can do. How about all the way? And that's that they took that innovation and just dumped all the shit attached to it in the BlackBerry, the actual little keyboard. And from that, that's where we got really the launch of the smartphone as a piece of glass we all carry around. And so, but that was them
So it
waiting.
was
Yeah.
it's really the smartphone that brought Apple along,
Yes.
because the processor in a smartphone is what the M2 is.
Yes.
There was a conversion that happened, or there started to be a conversion as phones got faster. There was a particular need in phones to be more efficient because you needed the battery to last long.
Right.
So they stopped using more monolithic CPUs like you would in your computer that you have.
Right.
And they started doing parallel processing, which is why NVIDIA is so high
Powerful,
in the
right.
AI field,
Yeah.
right? Because they're parallel, whereas a CPU is more of a serial approach. So because like we sort of hit a speed uh,
Yeah.
wall,
Yeah.
things aren't getting faster anymore because the heat generated from it is so much that you just can't cool anything anymore.
Right.
So we sort of stopped that, and then computing started to become more smaller, slower processors that all do them at the same time in parallel.
Right.
So AI happens to be something, well, you could say it, AI, the way it's built, is built on parallel processing in a way. And that's sort of one of the things that makes it kind of a problem because it can't look forward and back too far. It's sort of in the moment.
Right.
Last time we talked, I kept calling it autofill. I was saying it wrong.
Yeah.
You said auto. I was saying autocorrect, but it's autofill.
Yeah. Autofill. Yeah.
So it's really like only in time, kind of in a short window. And one of the advances that's currently coming out, or the next round of like ChatGPT's version, they're going to start being able to see further in the past and the future in terms of like logic. And then they're going to start being able to like do harder problems, like things that require like a little bit of knowledge and a more linear approach.
Right. Well, okay. So there are, I guess the one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm curious if the chat has any questions. I'm certainly open to them. I will keep an eye out, guys. And if you see anything in there that you want to address, let me know. But one of the things that I've been really focused on lately is agents. AI,
okay.
yeah, AI agents. So if you watch the kind of scuttlebutt about AI right now, online anywhere, what you'll see from the people who are digging in is, it's not ChatGPT is the thing of the past. Making your own agents is the thing, right? Is building AI agents that that you can set on a task or to solve a particular problem or a recurring thing. I have a couple that I'm playing around with. I'm just too afraid to launch them yet because I don't want them to crash my system. Because, like, simple things that are a little further than if this, then that kind of shortcuts,
Right.
but a little more, thinking than that as far as gathering information and stuff, and like certain news aggregates and those like scraping websites for particular information to keep track of a particular, like if I'm to almost give me a multiple alerts on different stories that show up in a particular document, those kind of things. Eventually building it into like the president's daily brief for myself, mixed with setting it up in a graphics format that I can share it. Right? Notion's got some options there too. It has an AI built into it, which I don't use very often because it seems very pushy. It's always like, what do you want me to do?
So,
like, just simmer down. But
in terms of what you're talking about, there's sort of two levels of that. And the one you're talking about, I would call more a macro, or
right.
Anybody that's a gamer, like they do those key,
right.
There's like, I can't remember the software, but you can like record a bunch of keystrokes and try to get it to like go in loops in the game so it thinks you're playing, right?
Right.
These are like, it's not like doing stuff in the background necessarily like on its own. It's sort of set out on a set of tasks and looping through those set of tasks.
Right.
That's kind of how it works currently.
Yeah.
And that can get really dangerous, not because of its like ability to think, but more your ability to think of all the problems that could have happened if you try
If you
to
just set it off, right.
if you automatically try to buy a plane ticket, think
And
of
it,
all the things that you could do wrong in the middle and buy
right.
5 plane tickets on accident, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or it
So
just
it's
won't stop
really,
buying plane tickets. Like it just,
yeah,
and you can't shut it off, right? It's what they
yeah.
call
That's always been a problem
the
in
silver goo
coding. Is
problem, which is this idea that eventually robot factories could build this thing that like we need a certain number of like elements, be these little washers. Then we need so many of these to make the robots or whatever. And one part of the program just loses its mind essentially and thinks, oh, all this metal that's available on Earth is strictly for me to make this goo that we can then fashion into these washers because we're going to need washers and that's my only gig. And it would just fill the Earth with silver goo is
yeah.
the idea. That's the big fear beyond even like a robot uprising is this kind of like material manufacturing thing where it just starts, it's somewhere between like Lucy and the Chocolates,
Yeah.
right?
But in
Yeah.
reality, it's really more like there's a bin,
And Westworld.
and if you see the bin is empty, put a washer in it, right?
Right.
And the robot's putting washers in it, and then the camera, thinks it's empty, so it just
Right.
keeps putting washers in it. It's more like that than it
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go take over the world.
Yeah. But but the idea is that it can totally burn down all of its resources. It can start. It's almost like
Sure.
like running an engine till there's no oil in it is the idea. Is the mechanical.
But the same thing would happen if you drove the car and
yes.
for 2 years and never changed the oil. Yeah, it would.
Right.
You're doing the same thing the robot would.
But I couldn't do it impossibly fast and impossibly permanently because eventually even I would have to stop and get out of the car and take a piss and somebody at the gas station would go, the fuck is that smoke? Like, and I'd go, is it not supposed to smoke? Right. That would be the human intervention aspect of it, which is just not a thing inside an AI program, right? It just isn't.
It's not. And, again, in programming, this stuff happens all the time. You think it's going to do one thing, you set it off to do it, it does something completely different and ruins all your data or something like that.
Right.
Like, those are things that, in theory, the learning of an LLM of data where these problems happened is what starts to kind of keep the problems maybe
right
at bay a little bit as it comes. But in terms of like agents, there's another thing in that realm that's happened or that's happening, and that is ChatGPT. I know that one well, so I use that as example, but all of them have it now, I believe. They call it a GTP. So before you start prompting it, you can describe who you want it to emulate when it answers you.
Yes.
So many people will say like, I would like this to be a professor or an expert in something. And then now please answer this. Or I have friends in marketing that will try to create a persona and they'll describe a certain type of person to it. It'll create this, they call it the GPT.
Yeah.
And then they'll like prompt it, asking it questions as if it's that person. So
here, let me pop
agents.
you in here real quick because I have to do this on screen because if I try to use that's one of the fail points. Oh, it's not. It's being a jerk. Look, don't be a jerk, you crazy thing. Oh, I hate it. This is all right. Sorry, I've got to restart my streaming software. This is the crash thing I was telling you about. And we should be back, and you should be able to see me again. I hope. There we go, and we're live again. And sorry about that, guys. Like we talk about like how advanced everything is, and then I still run into these giant roadblocks. It's hilarious. So this is just for the record. This is part of my ChatGPT. I made this, so it's a little thing right here.
That's what they call you made a GPT.
I made a GPT. Right. There you go. Yeah. So in this, and mine has.
Now, can I pause you for a second? The
Sure.
way you make a GPT is a couple of ways. You describe to it the attributes you want it to have in language, not in code. Just write to it. And then the second thing you can do, you can correct me because you did this. You can give it information in files, like a Word doc or a PDF or something
Right.
like that. And then I believe you can also, there's a third level where you can connect it to something else, right? Like you can
Yeah,
give
I
it
haven't done that.
instructions.
I haven't done that yet because that
Yeah.
makes me nervous. But what I
So
have
you could
done with
say
this,
like, now
yeah,
take this thing that you wrote and open Word and put it into a Word doc.
yes,
You
it
can
will.
do that.
This one will produce a Word doc, but it won't produce PDFs, which is what I wish it would do. But that's a
Yeah.
thing. It's a limitation it has. So you have. That's the human in the loop part. But this
Right.
is. I made this for the Sexy Liberal tour, and for my Nerd Halen shows and all that stuff. And what I did was essentially when I go to a city, there are things I need to know about it when it's coming up, what I'm going to need, like what the show I have for it is, the nature of the show, stand up or music or, or both, or a charity event, something like that. And yeah, everybody to let everybody know to refresh their feed. I should be back up online everywhere. But this is the key part is that what I do is I give it. It's been instructed. I told it, hey, you're my touring assistant manager, and you are responsible for prepping me on the cities I'm going to go to, based on my diet, my exercise routine, where the gyms are that I want to go to, or the available ones, if the hotel has one that I'm staying in, or there's Planet Fitness or whatever available nearby. And put that in, and how far it is from my hotel, and a couple of coffee places near my hotel, or places you have to eat when you come to whatever, its own little Yelp search that it does, and then make it into a document for me that is like just a rundown document, something that's pleasant to look at, get a little banner picture at the top of it, and just arrange that out. And it also has the schedule for the day. So sound check is at this time, on average, or you can add it in later. It leaves a gap if it doesn't know it. And then showtime is this, there's a VIP or a meet and greet afterwards, right? And this would be really, this is something I recognized that I really needed, that I was spending time myself doing, which is not show stuff. It has nothing to do with being on stage, right? It's just the stuff I have to do to get to where I'm going and be where I need to be. And
Right.
and so I was like, I'll just build one. Let's see how that shit works.
Right.
And
So
it's pretty solid.
the thing that's like so amazing about that is you can do all of that now without ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Everything you just said you can do, but you would
Yeah.
need to learn how to code it all. You'd have to
Right.
connect up to websites. You'd have to do all of this stuff.
That's right.
That's the layer that's gone in
Right.
this, in that the LLM essentially like skips all the like translation in between.
Yeah. I don't have to sit with a
That's
team of
maybe
people that would
way to say
concoct
it.
this for me, or set up like I need 9 macros set up that would do some of the detail oriented stuff. I
Right.
need somebody to craft it into a visually pleasant thing to look at. I need somebody to, to check if it and update it if the weather's changing or something else, because that'll affect how I have to pack, where I'm going, and all that stuff.
Right.
And create a checklist of the stuff I'm going to need based on the kind of show I'm doing. Like, I'm bringing a guitar for Sexy Liberal shows, but I have to bring lightsabers for the Nerd Halen shows, 2 black ties, 2 white shirts, and my meta glasses. And, it's like,
Yeah.
that's my uniform. And so if you look down here, this it gives me an option right here. This is an addition that I added to it, which is web access. So one of the additional things, most like ChatGPT does not come with web access. You have to give it a plug-in that allows for it with certain caveats.
ChatGPT 4 currently does.
Right.
But that's the paid option. And then 5 will as well, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, 5 will be ubiquitous everywhere. But 3.5 is a little bit faster at some of because it's developed the habit of this kind of stuff. And again, would this replace my need for a tour manager if things grew very big? No. I mean, you'd still need somebody as a band tour managing with you and that kind of stuff. However, this step of having something like this that big touring acts would get while they're doing things is now available not just to me, but literally anybody, this didn't take like the paid version necessarily. You can
Right.
build these for free, and there's a bunch of
Yeah.
other, you know, variations of ChatGPT or Bing or anything where you can make your own version of these things, your own
Yeah. So
characters.
you're still in a spot that's still kind of under the hood of the car, right? Like for
Yeah,
most people, that would be way too much for them to understand or to
right.
get into and do. So the interesting thing that I see happening, it could
Right.
go. So one of the reasons why you can pop up and you can buy other people's GPTs. So
Yeah.
it's like a store.
Yep, here it
And
is.
when
This
you
is
develop a
yeah.
piece of software, you have to decide it's going to do one thing, right?
Mhm.
Like it can only do it the way that I tell it to do it. And so what these LLMs are kind of shifting over to is like they're creating a way for you to make the software do what you want it to do. So
Mhm.
each person that has the software, it sort of becomes its own unique thing, which
Yes.
kind of that's why you see so many,
Mhm.
and also why people will say these are all useless, right? Because they're useless to you, but they're not useless to the person who made it.
Yeah.
So that's what's starting to get
They're
interesting
very
is
personal. Yeah.
you're you
Mm.
the maybe the group or the company that's going to be have the most success is going to
Mhm.
figure out how to make what you're talking about here accessible to a person who doesn't want to take the time to do
Right. Well, this
and
I
that's
got
the
to say,
shift.
yeah. You know how like nerdy and how much I like to get out over my skis on this
Of
stuff.
course.
I am, but I was I would consider that this. I would consider that getting out over my skis in a bunch of places because you know, I don't know that even some of the people who designed this stuff know how far it can go quite yet because it's still an exploration.
Yeah.
There's too many variables to know all the routes. So you're sitting down to it and you're like, can it do this? Can it functionally do this? We'll find out. And so from that point of view, I was like, well, I'll just jump in and try it. Now, what I've got on screen right now, this is just the GPTs. This is what we're talking about that are available already. Other people have made them, and you can just use them. You can just what I think you have to have the
Some
paid
you have to
version.
purchase.
Some you have to purchase, but a lot of them are free. Like there's one that's just a murder mystery one, which it literally makes up a new murder mystery, and you have to figure out the clues from this thing. So it's like those old text like Oregon Trail games or the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text game, but you have to figure out the clues from it. It's really fun, but it's
Yeah.
brand new all the time because it makes it up as it's going along. Essentially,
Yeah.
it establishes. Yeah,
So what you're showing there is not AI proliferating itself.
no,
It's people
people made
using
these.
the tool, and then they're using their tuned version of the tool. That's
Yeah,
what you're buying, or you're like using their tuned version of the tool.
right. So
That's what it is.
right.
It did not like
So
blow
you'll
up and do all
notice,
this stuff itself.
yeah, you'll notice Adobe Express is in here as one of the ones that you can get. And the main reason it's in here, and it and Canva and all these graphics programs now have an AI element, either to help remove backgrounds, from a figure in the front, in the foreground, or those kind of things, or they can, like Adobe Express. The best thing about it is the text stuff you can do. I think the fact that you
Yeah.
can type out text and you can say, I want this to look like melted butter with chocolate chips in it, and for if that's I want this entire word to be written like out of Snickers bars, and it will make it look like chocolate with nougat and peanut butter, and it'll ooze out of the sides, and you'll have several different versions of it that you just again at a price level that was impossible for any small business or small
Yeah.
creator or anybody who just wanted to spitball this shit. You would need a team of artists so far outside your skill level. And then even if you found them, you'd have to go, hey, put on hold whatever you're working on and come help me draw Snickers shaped letters for this one project I'm doing for school, right? And
Yeah.
that's
So like,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it used to be maybe that you needed a professional to get red eye out of your pictures. And
right.
really the person doing red eye would literally go into Photoshop
Oh
and
my God.
select it and change it from red to black, right? And then they had to like build tools inside of Photoshop in this case to automatically detect the red dot and turn it black. So that was like level 1. And then level 2 was, now it's like, you know what? In one picture, I like my head. And in the other picture, I don't like my head. Can you go like cut this one out and put it in there? And there's people good enough in Photoshop that they can do that and you wouldn't know any different. Now, the LLM, in terms of Gen AI and its ability to make images, the way Photoshop works now is you can circle the face and circle the face in another one, and you can basically say, remove this face and put this other face in.
Right.
And it's completely like gone around all of the tools that Adobe has developed. It hasn't used any of them, and it's gone straight to the pixels and swapped them out.
Right, and it got rid of it, like the tedium aspect of photoshopping, and left the artistic stuff up to the professionals. So that would be the other thing, is that like the idea that you would, as a Photoshop artist, like my girlfriend's son does social media for the Golden Knights and the Silver Knights and that kind of stuff, and he's fucking great at it. His stuff has so much style and so much, personality. And if they ask him for something, he can create a personalized version of that thing. The tools that he has available to him, as far as crossfading images and smoke and and leveling those things and shading, that weren't available, make his workflow a lot faster. But it doesn't enforce taste. It's up to you. You still got to make it look good. And it's still got to, please the eye and be in the design realm of what these people are asking for, because it might just not be some sort of rubber stamp standard. And so, like, he's able to do those kind of things so much faster, make what he wants it to look like so much faster. And his skills on it are far ahead of mine in Photoshop. I'm no slouch, but like, this is like, he's pro level and studied it in school. And so there are elements of his stuff that is just like pow now. He can just, instead of having to stay all day doing this, he can actually move stuff around and go, it looks much better. Let me try this. That's better. That's better. Like, he can make the aesthetic choices, as opposed to, well, if I want to make that aesthetic choice, it's going to be fucking 6 hours of my time. So there's a lot of this, the settling goes out the window.
Another kind of interesting way to use it creatively would be, you've like made something, in this case, he's in Photoshop, and you could like ask for it to have a different feeling, like a different style, a different feeling. So instead of what a lot of people worry about is, I want it to look like this particular artist.
Right.
The way we use it is different. We say, we would like it to be more dreary, or more, we would like this image to look more happy.
Right.
Then you see what it does, and you use that as an experimentation tool, and then you go back. You don't use the image, you use the image as a guide, or as inspiration to then you go change it,
right?
Maybe using the tools. So when I say like, so again, even in Photoshop, most people don't take the time to learn how to use Photoshop, and that's fine. But the way that they get the AI filtered back to them is like the commercials you see for the Google Pixel 8, where they're literally saying, change my face. And then instead of doing all of the work to do it, it's doing it automatically at the pixel level. And I think for most people, that's how AI is going to get to them, is it's going to get to them in like end use cases. And not so much like I'm under the hood trying to like, make it do what I want it to do. And that's the hardest part for us, is when we design things, we want it to look a certain way on purpose. And getting a Gen AI to make it the way you want it is actually the hardest thing. You can just say, give me whatever you want. But if you specifically want it to be like, I want it to be fatter, I want it to be
tweaking
softer, I want it to be, so that's where it struggles sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the next phase. If you'll notice, see this little moving spaceship that just it's just a loop, just kind of turns a little bit. It's not particularly great. You could see it artifact a little bit as it goes, a little off center or whatever. I made another one that was a little slightly better. I made these in Leonardo, because I made the interior of the spaceship set that I'm using right now in here, because I was messing around trying to find a way to make windows in space, and then cut the windows out as the background, as the frame for my stuff, just for my own, just to practice essentially. And it gave me all kinds of quirky bullshit while I was
Yeah, you
doing it.
can start to
Obviously,
see where how you used it for inspiration, and now your background kind of starts to follow some of those key
right,
elements, right?
exactly. Or I'll have to, when I'm working on something, like it, I asked for like a 16, like a vertical thing that I could use to show the image in the background, like I'm standing in front of a window pane or whatever. And I asked, after a while, I had to ask for it to give me a solid color in the window so that I could cut it out easier. It's still easy to cut out, it really is, but it was way easier the minute I started telling it like a solid white, outside the window is solid white, or outside the window solid green. A solid green made it difficult because it gave a little bit of green artifacting, which is why I ended up going with white and just cutting the color. And then it allowed that kind of whitish glow to stay there. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's why it might be so scary, is because we're like consumers of software right now. It's a
yeah,
thing that we get, we learn how to use it, and then we use it the way it's intended.
hmm
And AI is the reverse of that. It's sort of like you can use this any way you want. So it's like, choosing a 401k plan. Like if there's too many choices, you're not going to choose,
yeah.
right?
I call it the tyranny of options, which stops.
Exactly.
It stopped me for a while. One of the things, like I
Yeah,
said, with AI was like, I don't want AI helping me create. I like being a creator. But what I do need sometimes is a push in the right direction, or
exactly.
an inspiration I won't come up with on my own. So if I can set it up to be my like editor, or be my motivator, or a life coach that goes, hey, do me a favor, write 10 jokes on this today as an exercise. I want to see what you got. And then you put it in, and and I go, don't improve on these, just, judge them based on stuff. And I don't care about the judgment because it's a language model. But the point is just getting involved in that exercise of that creativity and interacting. This was one that
Yeah.
I finally, this took a lot of tweaking to get to. But it was literally, I was trying to do a big panel on the show where I could put the news article and two guests. So I had to have a window
Mhm.
split into two over here. And it made it. And I like, it took a lot. I was like, it was like dicking around trying to find a way. Like it made four of them, and then I had to you upscale them. It
Yeah.
made this one, and these windows were, you see all that. So I had to ask, and then it made these with black in them, and it just made it really difficult. I was like, take out all the color in
Right.
this thing. This one was
So
terrible. So
effectively, you used it just like you would Photoshop. You would have had to learn how to use Photoshop, draw that all out, though that. But you use this, and the neat thing about it is like you kind of learn as you go when you keep trying new
So here's
things,
an
right? And
example of it
yeah,
losing its fucking mind. Is that
yeah,
when
there you
you
go.
you find an image you like, and then you go, referencing this image, give me a thing of, I just want two windows on the left and a window in the center, and da, da, da.
Yeah,
And it overlaid its own understanding of these previous images and just made useless shit. It meant like
yeah.
it garbled.
So
Because here's what
there's
I tried to give it an outline. Like, this is I need these kind of windows in this space. I need this area to be the spaceship, and I try to do it, like, hey, you could sketch something and turn it into something else. And I was like, okay, I'll upload it, and I'll go, referencing this picture and this other picture, give me this picture and this thing, because it was foamy at the time, and like, these are in different order. But it freaked out. It gave me these things, which are just,
yeah,
I don't know what the fuck that is. It looks like something out of it looks like the interior hull of the helicopter in Heavy Metal, the cartoon, where everybody, or the circular room that they jog through in Thor. If you look like
right. So
it's like a forever circle.
you're like using it in a way which it's not really built to do. There
It's
are other
right.
things. There's a software called Viscom,
Mm-hmm.
where it will use primitives just like you drew. You can draw them into it, and it'll
Right.
be more direct. But it's built to like be used the way you're trying to say, which is to be more
Mm-hmm.
direct
I was trying
in
to make
terms of
a
your.
pop-down screen so that I could frame my stuff and have I'm going to make it eventually, but so that it'll pop down from the top of it can 3D pop
Yeah,
down in, and then the image can be on that, and then it can go up if I need to show an article or something while I'm engaged with something else. And so I was like, give me this futuristic HUD webcam frame thing or whatever, and it just would not do it without this pretty woman's face in it. It just would not. It was so fixated. It made this. I don't know why I put Paul Ryan in it. In this version,
So
this
that's
one
a good
version.
time to. That's a good time to go take the image into Photoshop and just cut it out yourself.
That's what I ended up doing. Yeah, I started messing around with them. But ultimately, I wanted it to be separate from everything. And then the other thing, I was trying to get it to do it with a green screen. It did not understand at all. It was just making green images on it. It's so interesting because, like, talking to stuff, I wanted the monitor to be mounted on something, a futuristic mount for it. So it just started making weird futuristic monitor mounts for me. Which, I mean, that looks photorealistic. That looks like a real fucking thing. But it's just gibberish.
It's not what you wanted.
No, it's not. And so that's where, like, and don't get me started on, this is when I first started asking, like, I need a spaceship with a large window view onto space so that I could put my screens up like they are on the show. And this is what it gave me initially, was just like, what the fuck? And everything had this deep perspective on it that I couldn't shake. It got so fixated.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
So there's a couple of questions. Maybe I could jump into those real quick. And the first one, Andrea said, it's from 56 Nick Rich. Can a short circuit cause AI to mutate? The short answer is no. But we started to talk about that at the beginning. What we think about short circuiting is actually us sending it to do something and it having unintended consequences, I think. And that happens all the time. Like, yeah, so it could definitely do something that you didn't want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
But mutating to something else is interesting because I keep trying to like articulate that it is what it's trained to be. Like it can't be anything else. Now, inside of the box of what it's trained on, there are so many things that we can't conceive of that seems like new, but it's not. It's just an iteration of what is already in the box, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose you could like write a really good articulate explanation of how AI could mutate into, a Terminator. But again, that's like last week. I say it's not. I don't really try to like conceive of those things because I don't think it's helpful.
Right. Well, it's also
the next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's also impractical, but you can't even process how people would even, how that would come about.
That's how all hacking works, right? It's like somebody thought to do it a way that you never conceived of, and then they're like all of a sudden, spycraft with dial-up phones. Like you can like make all kinds of things do things that are bad.
Right.
You don't need AI. Is there a way to begin telling it what I need, how to start? And then I think that's from Robin Doc. And then I just want to get started, but even with text, I can only go so far. I don't know how to help it help me. I mean, it's just, I guess, get on YouTube and ask, like, look for how people are using it and try to do that. But one thing that I've found is I literally just asked ChatGPT how to do it.
How could you help me do something like this?
Yeah,
I don't know
I
what.
would like to do this.
By the way, yeah, in the beginning of ChatGPT, when it first came out, the first like 2 months, I would get into it and I would go, I'm a comedian. This is what I do. I have no interest in you writing jokes for me or writing anything. So I have no idea how AI can help me. What ways could it help me do things? And it would give me lists of things that it could do. Most of them useless and circular and bullshit. Now it's getting way better because it's training on what other people are using it for. So let's say you create your own GPT and you make it do all these things and it's very useful and you use it all the time. That registers to the large language model. You go, hey, this version of it, this guy built this thing and he has these tastes and these uses and he asked for this kind of thing. This isn't I might even tell him, hey, you should post this as a thing. Like it as an AI will go, other people might be interested in using this tool because whatever. In this particular one. So I wanted to run everybody through this real quick so you can kind of get an idea because we were talking about these agents versus GPT's idea. Agents are the programmer level almost at this point, but they're everywhere. These are the trending ones. These are just the ones. An image generator, there's plenty of those. Whatever. There's consensus. This one's one of the ones that I thought was fucking amazing. Scholar GPT. This is a research assistant. That's all it does. You ask it to research a topic, and it's got access to a ginormous database of academic papers on a myriad of subjects. That's what it's linked into, and that's what it has access to specifically, and to only that stuff. Stick with what's from these studies, and you can add that to your GPTs and just have it as an available thing that you can talk to. Canva's also, and then Copilot, there's a few of those. So this is the ones that they added. Their own versions of these. Creative Writing Coach, which is, again, they're getting closer to this idea that says, like, I'll read your work and give you feedback, and you can take it or leave it, which is way better. Coloring Book Hero. This is just give it images and it will make coloring book pages for it, which is fascinating. Just as a silly thing. There's Dolly. That's their image maker. Writing. This is all the, again, a lot of it's just copy editors and copy shit that's,
exactly.
So
one piece of advice I tend to give people is, instead of going to like a place like this, a storefront or something, and looking at all the choices, think about what you want. Just think about what you want to do. Like, what do you like to do? So, going down the writing path, I like to write. Okay. How can I use Chat GPT to
inspire me to write, or help me write, be a better writer? Yep.
So look for the thing that you like, look for a thing that you want to do in it, or you think might be fun to just experiment with, and start there. And then I always just go to the raw. You can sign up for Chat GTP, Copilot.
Yeah.
I think Google has Gemini. You can just go, you can find whichever
Claude,
one.
Meta.
Many of them are free. And you can literally just start with a sentence. That's all it takes.
Have a conversation with it about.
Conversation.
Yeah. So this one I thought would sufficiently freak people out a little bit. This is called Humanizer Pro, which is this is when you take AI writing that you asked for, and it makes it sound like a person wrote it. And that's exactly what everybody's worried about. And they're not even, it's just right on the nose. There's a text to video maker. There's a few of those. They're hit and miss. They're kind of shit right now, but they're going to grow into something really fucking amazing before too long.
Let's say that you like posting on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you love taking pictures of your hair, your makeup. Let's do your makeup, right? You could just go to ChatGPT and say, I post about my makeup. You could say, here are 3 topics that I use when I post, or you could ask it, give me 3 topics related to makeup that I could post about. It would literally spit out 3 things. I mean, they might be good, they might be bad. Then you make a post and you say, this post is unique because I have a post that is unique because of 1, 2, 3. Can you write me a 100 or what, I don't know, 10 word, however long the posts are. Tell it how many letters, it doesn't matter. 100 letter post that would work on Instagram. It will give you one. And then this is what's interesting is you could say, that sounds too serious. Can you make that funnier?
Yeah.
Can you make that sound like a 6th grader wrote it? Can you make that sound more
explain
smart,
this to me like I'm an idiot, which is one of the biggest things people use it for, right?
You alter it in that way. Yeah. Here's another one that came up.
And this is
Sorry to be repetitive, but I'm at work. Can you ask if they can simplify how to ask the prompts what you want?
Yeah. Okay. So there isn't a simple way.
You talk. You like how would you ask a question to a 5th grader?
Yeah.
Type that in. That's all it is. Inside of things like Midjourney and stuff like that, you can get down a rabbit hole of like people that use kind of like Discord has the / and you can start to like, really like use almost like code in the prompts. If you're getting started, don't worry about that. Just, show me a picture of a shiny spoon.
Right.
Like whatever, just start with like a 3-sentence thing. And then when it spits something out, a good way to think about it is tell it either how it's like, type into it why it's right or why it's not what you wanted.
Right.
And then ask it to change it and give it a descriptive way to change it, or just ask it to change it. Like that's how you do. That's how you go about kind of just poking at it and seeing how it goes. And the more you do it, as Hal can attest, like you start to be like, oh, that worked this time. Let me try that again. Or that didn't
Yeah,
work. I'll try something different.
one of the greatest things that comes out of this is, again, I talk about that, and we're over the end of the hour, but I want to make sure everybody gives a big up to Rob for helping us walk through some of this stuff, because I think both of us can have a tendency to get into shorthand too heavily if we're not careful, and so I just want to I want to try to bring it back down to earth so people can understand. And one of the greatest things about like the GPTs that are available, all of them, is that you can have no shame about your stupid questions. I'm genuinely mean that. You can absolutely go. You can keep saying I don't understand, and it will go, well, it's basically this. Describe it to me like I'm a moron, and it will go, okay, stupid. Here you go, and it will call you stupid if you want it to, because it doesn't care. But at the same time, it doesn't get bored or tired. It's up to you, and that's why I think its function as a tutor, and this is just one of the available ones that was there, or as a way to find a clarifying explanation of something, is the perfect tool for it. It is the perfect tool for that, because what you're going to have is, are we going to still have teachers in school? Absolutely. But rich kids used to be able to pay for a tutor, and the richer their parents were, the more patient the tutor was. Right? That was really what it was. Only the king's kid could have a tutor that would let him be a complete idiot and a shithead and stand there and not get upset and storm out and say, fuck this kid, I hope he dies in a car crash. Right? That
Right.
Literally, you had to be a rich, wealthy, powerful family to have somebody like that. If you're a mid-level family, you're like, I can't, I'm too busy. I can't tutor your kid anymore. He's not, he's going to screw my bell curve. But this is like the drum beat in the Genesis song Mama. It's relentless.
Yeah.
And this is the joy of relentless.
This brings up like I'm constantly trying to think of the concept of it and why it's so overwhelming. And I just came up with this way of maybe trying to articulate, like a lot of people think of AI as this like huge, massive river flowing really fast. And if I jump in, it's going to take me away. And it's not that. Instead, it's more like a slot machine where when you hit the button, it gives you a result and that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hit the button, get a result. Make a prompt, get a result. Make a prompt, get a result, and build on the prompts. Like it's more like that. Like
Yep.
It's not doing anything until you do something with it.
That's
if
right.
That makes any sense.
Yeah.
And so I think we're done with questions.
Yeah. So I really want to thank you for like being a staple on Friday AI going forward, because like I said, there is going to be a quickening around all this shit that is going to swamp everybody, and I would like my viewers at the very least, and henceforth yours as well, if you decide to careen off into the world of podcasting or anything, or capture this audio, because the explanation.
I don't have enough time for that.
Yeah, right. These are real. Yeah. But this part of it is going to be on us before we know it. And the people who can adapt to it and find a comfort with it are going to have an advantage over the people who are, against it from the, on principle.
Yeah.
And the people who
if
are.
you think about it as a competitive thing.
Yeah.
Which it's going to, our first message was, it's just going to be in your phone. Like,
yep.
It's not a new phone. It's just your phone working with different software. Like that's all it is. So if you don't want to do anything with it, you just wait for it to come to you, because it's going to be it already is in your phone. It's already being used as a way to search a Google for websites.
Right.
And then now if you want to, like, if you're doing it, like if you're doing something, if you have a job that makes images, that writes, that thinks about large data sets, like whatever your job is,
yeah,
you can find a way to use it for that. And that's the competitive part, I think. Kind of like back in my day of being an engineer and a designer,
yeah,
we switched from 2D to 3D, from AutoCAD 2D to 3D, and there were a lot of people that didn't want to switch to 3D. and they basically just got left behind because the world stopped using 2D drawings. I mean, they
Yeah.
still output the 3D as 2D, but we got so much faster in 3D than, so that's in the weeds of another profession. But my point is that if you want it to be a part of your life, just wait and it'll be a part of your life. If you want to utilize it, it's probably a good idea to start thinking about it as it relates to something you already do. Like Photoshop basically just inserted a thing called Gen Fill. So there's AI in Photoshop. If you use Photoshop, use that. I think that there are some areas like I said, a post. Like probably what's going to start happening is instead of writing your post on Facebook or Instagram, it'll say generate a post based on the picture. You just hit a button and it'll do it. That's sort of like how it's going to start integrating into your life, I guess.
What a lot of people will find, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, is that they'll start playing with it, and then it won't give them exactly what they want right away, and it'll get frustrating, or it'll give them something that's extraordinary, that's like, whoa, that's just amazing looking, and I didn't even think about that, and now I'm done. And there's this mid zone where most real stuff will happen and what it's going to grow into. I just asked this thing, by the way. This is one of the things available. It's It's called Presentations and Slides GPT, and one of the optional questions it gives you as a primer was make a presentation about the future of AI. So it is doing that right now. It talked to slidegpt.com. It's doing it again. It's basically creating these slides. I don't know how many it's going to make, but it's in the process of doing this, and it will, when it's finished, it will present us with a slide presentation. Let's see how it goes. We don't know. And somebody was like, music should be organic. I completely agree. That's why I stay away from it for music I care about. What I can do, though, and this is another great example, is that some of the AI can change the instruments in something. So if I can't play an instrument, or I don't know anybody, or I can't afford an orchestra, I can play it on a keyboard, but it's kind of like synth strings. I can say, make this sound like live strings, like a full orchestra. This is just GPT. Okay, here it goes. Introduction.
You could use it to, you could use it in that example. You could use it for things that don't matter, like things that you wouldn't spend the time at. It's not art, or you could just use it as a concept generator. So I think it would be interesting to have this string. So have it, instead of going and finding someone to play it, have it create something, play it over the top of what you're playing. What you're doing is you're searching for the concept, and then you go make it yourself. If it's important to you that the thing you create is fully human generated, then just use it as a concept tool and have it help you focus in on what it is you want to create, and then go create it. You don't need to use the AI in the actual final product.
Yeah. So this is that was just an example. Just it gave me like 3 slides to start with, and this breakdown of the talking points. So it was like a picture and these breakdowns over here. And I can tell it, if I wanted to, I could say continue, and it will continue to make slides for me. It will. If I say I need 10 slides, whatever. One of the other things is like that I have in here is, again, that murder mystery mayhem thing that I was telling you about. I only played with it for a short while or whatever, but it was like, start a new murder mystery, tip 1, check guests' alibis, tip 2, so you can ask, give me a tip on what's going on in this, and give me a little, like, that kind of thing. But it's just a game you can play that will, again, be brand new. This is Code Copilot.
They're idea starters. I mean, if you were writing a murder mystery and you're like, these people are in a room, what's 25 things that could happen from this room out into the world? It's the same as it's an idea starter.
That's right.
Going back to your music thing again, real quick.
Yeah.
If you were like, this doesn't sound right, a lot, in the before time last week, you might go start listening to music.
Yes.
And so if you approach a library, or in this case, I'm just going to go listen to music, and hopefully maybe something will inspire me back at me that will inspire me. In this sense, you can literally say, give me 5 examples of music that is depressing, music that is happy, music that is strong, powerful. Use descriptors, and then it's like a prompted version of research, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And the answers don't matter. They're just like, listening to 20 songs and not hearing the one that inspires you. It's the same thing, right?
Well, that's why I ended up with.
Now this was fully created, right?
Yes. This is all synthesized by an AI.
Right.
And it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I mean, voice recognition and then voice recreation it's already at a point where, I mean, if anybody's worried, like if you're worried about it, like it's too late. It's already there.
Yeah, that's yeah. On that note, right? But but the idea again is what I would like to, I've always believed, and you and I think we're in agreement on this, but I believe that all technology is deflationary. That
Yes.
tech, in all its forms, will always get cheaper and more capable and faster and more broadly available to everybody over time. That's the arc of it. It just happens that way. At one point, only people who could afford someone to hand make them an abacus had a calculator in the market, right? And now, or only the richest kids who got a Harvard scholarship could get a calculus calculator or a trigonometry calculator, that kind of thing, which are really fucking complicated, but you have to have one, right? Those were only available to the elite few. And not because the elites were shutting everybody down. It's because there's a very small market for it. If you decide to do it, you got to dedicate a long period of your life to even be involved in that fucking part of it, just like having a piano in your goddamn house. It's not a small decision. Somebody's got to make the fucking thing, right? Eventually, everybody had to, stringing a fucking piano is insane. Now, keyboards are available. So now everybody can learn to play piano, right? That's the idea. So that's a good thing. Technology is deflationary. It's cheaper, more broadly available. This is, if you want to talk about the singularity of the capability of the average human being equal to a near godlike Merlin-esque or king-like being, the Rasputin, Merlin, whoever whispers in the king's ear, Robert the Bruce, having that person available to you was only something the king could have. And if anybody else tried to have him, the king would kill that motherfucker, and so he could keep that to himself. Now, it's yours. It's just free and getting freer all the time. And that's what I want to remind people. That's why I like I think it was smart for IBM or like Microsoft to call it Copilot, because that's exactly what it is. It's tutors, it's co-pilots, it's a sidecar, it's your purse, it's your wallet, it's the thing that now you don't have to walk around with a bag of doubloons, right? You can now have a credit card. You have a debit card in your pocket. And so you can have all the money that a king would have had, but you don't have to carry it around or have a bunch of the sheriff of Nottingham guarding it for you.
Right. Last week you mentioned this, or there was a question about the singularity, and then I answered, and we had two not competing, but different ideas of what that was. I actually went down the rabbit hole to learn what what people consider the technological singularity. And I found it an interesting thing that might help, the idea of it. It's the idea that it will accelerate so fast that it eventually implodes on itself, or gets out of control, basically. Yeah. And there are other concepts of entropy and of complexity that counteract these things. There's another concept of the more complex something gets, then it eventually will collapse, but not collapse in a bad way. It will simplify. So, so that's one of the reasons why these are theoretical things that we get caught up in. Because we're worried about it doing something that we don't understand, or doing something that we can't then go undo. And there's so much stuff out there that it does balance itself out. There's one more question. Is there metadata which will identify if something is generated with AI? Those are self-reported things. So I think it's Google, or one of them, maybe DALL-E, that they say they're going to watermark things like images that come out of it.
That was one of the rules
We
they were
talked
trying.
last,
Yeah, they were trying to
we
get
talked last
that
time
done.
about this.
And
Yeah,
I got
so
news for you. It doesn't matter. Here's the example I would make is that if you go to Google Earth, and they had a while you could use Google Earth Studio. Now you have to have permission, which I'm very pissed about because I was going to do something cool and then they took it away. But Google Earth Studio, you could go in there and you could just point out an object or a direction or something, and you could make it fly around, basically do drone footage over the entire world. It was amazing. But in the bottom corner, it said Google Earth.
yeah.
It was watermarked with it. So everybody would just letterbox it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't see the watermark.
So
right.
Yeah. So the higher level regulation of AI, it's a problem that needs to be solved. That's the best way to say it.
Yep.
And we don't need to wait for it to be solved, because the only way we can control that getting solved is to do the right thing at the ballot box, to put policymakers in place that we trust to do this in a way that we think is the way we would like it done, right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, you have to, my responsibility, your responsibility, Hal, is to use it in a way which is not illegal.
Yeah.
And you can't stop somebody else from using it in a way that is illegal. Well, you can go arrest them. So but those things are already in place, right? The legal part of dealing with it after it's made is already in place. We have to do the front end. So technically, in some cases, there's metadata, in others, there's not. But that's when we start getting into really high level technology, perhaps all things are on a blockchain from now on. And I mean, there's people that are concepting how to even tackle this problem. And the problem is so large that it's
and what it'll make is just everybody will be more dubious until they meet someone in person, which is not a bad thing. That's what that would bring us off the internet, that verification process.
Right.
We went over, but I want to thank you for being here, Rob.
No problem. Thank you.
So really, really helpful. Again, my goal is that everybody who watches the show in this segment in particular finds more comfort in just giving it a try, incorporating parts of it into their system, because like we've said, competitively it's a good thing to have anyways, but the idea that you have this co-pilot access to do all this stuff is kind of amazing, and it's something that only the people that were kings and potentates had in life up until this point, and it's kind of great that it's available to us all. So thanks so much, Rob. Really appreciate it. I'll let you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Rob. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Glenn. Give it up for him. Rob Glenn. All right. Rob Glenn. Yeah. So hopefully that clarified some of what we were talking about for you guys. And I made this image a while back, and it can't do words very well. So I did the text myself in Canva, but the image itself, I just asked for a few different I forget even what I was asking for the prompt. Right? Anyways, by the way, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, yada, yada, yada. There's obviously other news to get to. I guess Kato Kalin was on a talk show I guess it was a podcast. It wasn't a talk show. This morning, and he basically said, he was guilty. We all know he was guilty. He's guilty. He's a guilty person. He was guilty. We all knew it. There's going to be a lot of people coming out because he's dead now and he can't sue them because he was cleared in the case, and now the alleged part, I guess, if his family wants to go after somebody, perhaps. One of the other things that kept coming up, and this is a Newsmax thing that occurred yesterday, and I wanted to address that in Her's report, one of the things that the host on Newsmax said was that Biden didn't know that Africa was a country. Very embarrassing. Here's here's the thing. If you're going to dunk on somebody for being old, doddering, and not knowing what's going on or being lost or whatever, then you should probably know that Africa is a continent and has countries in it, and or shut your fucking mouth. Like, that's amazing. So, great work, Newsmax. Shitting the bed. Almost as good as Sean Hannity misspeaking and flubbing words while he's making fun of the fact that Biden misspeaks or flubs a word. While never having said, Biden never has never said anywhere that I've ever seen, I have the best words and I know all the best words and I know how to say them better than everybody else and I have a great vocabulary and a very large brain. I think that was the quote, right? We try to join in here.
I'm going to take such
Hold on.
very large a brain.
There you go.
Very large a brain.
Yeah. Biden has never said.
I know words. I have the best words.
He just speaks like a normal person and makes mistakes like a normal person. But once you say,
I know words. I have the best words.
Try not to say oranges when you mean origins.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges.
I agree. And check the plums while you're at it. Yeah. And let's see. Yeah. The other part of it, let me bring in the chat room. So hi chat room. Yeah. This would be kind of crucial. Where is it? Yeah,
And God bless the United States.
Let's see. See. Okay, there you go. Oh, this is going to be very upsetting for the. Yeah, this is gonna fuck with it with the marges of the world. A report came out. They did a big meta study on vaccines and the cardiac problems with it and sudden death related and the excess deaths and all the shit that they try to run around. Okay, so a long-term study of sudden cardiac deaths in young adults following COVID vaccination was 5-fold lower in people vaccinated versus unvaccinated. There's no evidence that COVID vaccines cause fatal cardiac arrest or other deadly heart problems in teens and young adults. The CD report finds new analysis debunks widespread misinformation about the mRNA vaccines. Boy, are they going to be upset about that shit. So there you go. And by the way, COVID itself caused cardiac problems in some people, right? Because it attacked people's immune systems, their nervous systems, all kinds of shit. So there were people who were getting sudden cardiac arrest from COVID, from being exposed to COVID. And that number is, again, higher than people who got vaccinated. So there you go. Let me try to bring in this. Yeah. 13.8 billion shots. Yeah, billion. Right. Yeah, Trump killed his own voters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fully vaxxed as well. I guess a Republican in Colorado left his loaded handgun in a bathroom. It's one of the stories this morning, because it was his fallback location. If somebody found it, so all of a sudden it's I dropped it there. I was so dumb. As opposed to, I don't know. Anybody ever see Ronin? Leave a gun along your exit route, or John Wick 2. There was a bunch of that too, where he would just like walk around where he was going to leave through, and he put this shotgun one place and this other thing in case he ran out. He knew how many shots he had and to get to the next point. Yeah, Jared Dublin gave you RSV just from her segment on my show. I'm really sorry. I blame myself. Yeah. Who can crap without their gun? Honestly, at this point, I guess the other funny thing is that Lauren Boebert's son. Hold on, Lauren. Yeah, where is it? Lauren Boebert's son. There he is. Cannot afford an attorney, so an attorney will be appointed for him. He came to court and said, we don't necessarily, he's like, we're working on finding an attorney, but I'm not sure I can afford him, so I might need to get one. And the judge was like, yeah, get one, and then if you can hire one, you get one. But also, why is Boebert letting her and her husband letting their son live off the public tit in this regard? Why would that be? Yeah. Like mother, like son. What? My American Life by Lauren Boebert. Chapter 1, Who's My Daddy? Chapter 2, School Year Brought. Okay, let's see. All right. So yeah, that was one of the big breakouts. And of course, I guess, well, hold on. Let me put you back in here, chat with me. The big story, of course, is that is it jury selection starts on Monday? Yeah. And Trump is going to have to be in court because it's a criminal trial. Does anybody know if it's going to be video? It's going to be on camera. They're gonna have cameras in the courtroom. They're supposed to, right? Because it's a state trial. Have they ruled against it? Yeah. Yeah, socialism. That's exactly right. Yeah. If I can, like, Lauren Boebert and her friggin' commie kid. Yeah, no cameras? Boo. Why? I don't know. Oh, in New York? I think they are, though. They've had them in other stuff. I don't know. If I was the press, I'd be filing lawsuits like crazy. Just for the record. Right. Anyways, yeah, okay, we're good. We got about a half hour left. We'll see over the next little bit. Trump's just continuing to freak out. I was going to try and open up his Truth Social account, although he dumps everything again on his Telegram. If I can't, yeah, there it is. I don't know why, but when I bring it up, it always goes to the same, like, one post. It's very odd. Thank you. Together we'll make America great again. DonaldJTrump.com. I'm so proud of Truth Social because I believe it represents the Make America Great Again movement. And it shows the spirit and love of our country. If people who believe in putting America first and want to make America great again support truth, we will be your voice like never before. And a real voice is what our country needs because we are in decline and must bring America to greatness. Think of this as a movement, the greatest movement in the history of our country. We are going to save our country and make America great again, greater than ever before. Jesus. Gateway Pundit. Yeah, I don't know why their polls went. Sorry, Democrats and free trade Republicans. Trump's tariffs worked. What? Many manufacturing cabinets are thriving because of tariffs, thanks to John. Okay, whatever. Biden kept the tariffs that would have worked. That's why they're bipartisan. They weren't Trump's tariffs. The Trump tariffs were the ones that everybody else kicked to the curb. Whoa. This one I gotta click on. Hangout. American Thinker, which is, I gotta say, a bit of a mess of a website. Yeah. This is American Thinker. This is right. Donald Trump is simply the maestro of motto. He knows how to use words like no one else at his rallies and beyond. At his rallies and beyond. I think that was the, where was, it was in the new stuff. Yeah, it was this one.
Peace through strength on the earth beyond.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, who can come up with,
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it. Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you're doing, China,
Sure.
Don't buy. None of you buy.
And the always lovely.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Yeah, that's the maestro of motto for you. There he is
Our
again.
army manned the airports. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do.
You have the ocean and you have the sun. There's something about that that works.
Sure. I guess unless you're lost at sea. Right? Like an
Asshole.
Okay. So he knows how to use his words like no one else. That's true. No one else would use them like
That
this.
Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Okay, no lies detected. No one would use words like that. And all they do is energize voters. Not so much. His Make America Great Again is just the start. There's never been a movement like this, the once future president says, and his rally throngs and rocketing poll numbers confirm that. Maganomics is another Trumpism. There's Green New Scam, a rip on the lefties' climate hoax that's killing oil and hiking everything from grocery prices to mortgage rates. News Scum, a swat at Gavin Newsom. And migrant crime, a mix of Biden and migrants. He's welcome. What? Really? That's amazing. Okay, that's amazing. That's impressive. Migrant crime. I got to tell you, it seems like somebody wrote this article to just cover his ass. Migrant crime. It's amazing. His turn of phrase is incredible. Maybe he was just saying migrant crime with a head cold. You know, when your nose is stuffed up and you say migrant crime, and it just sounds like migrant crime, even though you're saying migrant crime. And Free to Kill. Yeah, that sounds good. Isn't that that's a Seagal movie, isn't it? Hard to Kill, sorry. Free to Kill, Biden's alien release design that results in murdered Americans. Free to Kill. And his latest Too Big to Rig wins so many voters in November that none of Merrick Garland's gangland ballot box theft will keep Joe Biden in the Oval Office. With turns of phrase like this, it's no wonder Mr. Trump packs him in. The real estate mogul offers sky-high entertainment, plus a package of policies spot on with his happy followers. They go wild when he says he'll drill baby drill, free the January 6 hostages outrageously imprisoned, secure elections with one-day voting, uphold the Second Amendment the way he did as president, restore free speech, settle the Ukraine war immediately, push the death penalty for drug dealers, sign the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act for countries that tariff us as 100% or 200% will do the same. In other words, if you screw us, we'll screw you. Indemnify cops so they can bash bad guys without fear of lawsuits and getting the axe. Cut funding for any school that pushes critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. No, not one penny in any school with vaccine or a mask mandate. By the way, that would eliminate all funding to all schools. And I will keep men out of women's sports. That's okay. Yeah, that for the record, Trump links to that article. There's another one, I guess, in America. Thus far, Trump has huge coattails, the best coattails. So good. Mark Osler, CNN. People have forgotten the Joe Biden who pushed for the draconian 94 crime bill, which added 50 new federal crimes, created a harsh 3 strikes rule, and incentivized fuel. No, it didn't. And many of them are the same people he is counting on to come out in droves to vote for him in November. Okay, first of all, the crime bill is not responsible for mass incarceration. The crime bill is not even responsible for the rise in incarceration. The crime bill was about trying and sentencing people, but if you didn't, I guess, increase the penalties, or you believe that murderers and rapists should be on the street and not in prison, that's another conversation for another time. But we all know what actually raised the number of people in jail: DNA and fingerprints. VICAP. The institution of VICAP, the institution of a nation. Thanks, Don. A nationwide fingerprint database and DNA. That's what did it. So you couldn't just commit a bunch of crimes in one state and then hop across the border and tell them a different name. It would be the Bundy rule. If you'll recall, Ted Bundy went down to Florida, used a fake name and a fake ID. This is before they had like a nationwide fingerprint database, before they had DNA, before they had, like the countermeasures on driver's licenses and the like, right? And he just wouldn't say his real name at one point. He would not admit that he was Ted Bundy. And it took, like, I want to say, like a couple of weeks before they even noticed, hey, wait, that's the fucking guy. That's why. Yeah, it's 100% why. I mean, genuinely. Okay, majority of voters say Biden wants to imprison Trump before the election. Well, I mean, majority of, a good majority of voters also think he's a fucking crook. So, Trump, I mean. So, yeah. Yeah, there was no behavioral analysis unit. That's true. Joe Biden, the closer in Hunter's corrupt schemes. For all the deals that didn't close, he's just handing these things out. Okay, and his motorcade arrived at Long Island at the wake of a fallen New York. Okay, and then he's replay. Very hard to get over the death of Jonathan Diller. I guess it's starting to fade, so he's trying to jump up this. Very hard to get over it. You should be still upset about this instead of the other police officers that died between Diller and now. Real quick for any of the maggots in the crowd, did Donald Trump go to any police funerals during his time in office? I'll wait. Because a bunch of them got killed. Did he go? Right. Trump just did one of the most significant spiritual acts in history. I joined to really discuss why we should thank President Trump rather than criticism. The Trump Bible? Really?
Pastor Lawmeyer, thanks for being here. Well, the media doesn't like when Trump even holds up a Bible, let alone speaks about it. What's your
because it's hypocrisy and gross. It has nothing. It's not the Bible's fault. The Trump brand is actually undervalued by billions of dollars. Have they checked the stock? Should we check the stock? Can we check the stock? I'm gonna check the stock, and checking the stock is what we do. Yeah. Let's see. DJG stock price chart Trump live. There we go. Trump media technology. There you go. Yahoo Finance is the stock price. 31.37. Oof. Eesh. That's bad. Is this okay? Hold on. This is I'm gonna blow this up a little bit, but we'll go to here. 31.37, ladies and gentlemen. Down a point today. Look at that drop. What the fuck phone call happened there? And then Trump's like, dump some money into that thing. Buy up the stock because it's definitely gonna go up. Like, please tell me Trump is taking money he took out on from loan sharks and buying his own stupid stock to keep it afloat for the next 6 months. So he can ditch the fuck out. Unbelievable. Yeah, 31.38. How about look at 5 days? Ooh, that's not good. That's how about a month? It's up for a month because we go back to when it wasn't public. Again, like I said, until it's down to $2, he could still sell it and make money because it's magic money to start with. He's losing the magic money, and it's definitely freaking him out. But it wasn't worth shit to start with. If he sells it for anything above water, he's making money. He can at least make, if it's a penny, well, I guess, let's say it's $1. If it goes to $1, he can make $74 million, right? Because he's got 74 million shares, or 76 maybe. He goes 76. He can make $76 million if it goes down to $1. So if it makes it to the 6-month point and it's down to $1, he can sell it for that and make $74 million that he didn't have before. So, and he knows this. But believe me, this is a guy who knows that, $4 billion has just evaporated over the last 2 weeks. Oh, it's so good. But, hey, let's look at should we look at why is this so small, too? The type on this. What in the hell? S&P is down. Dow's at 37,945. That's because everybody thinks there's not going to be a cut in rates. So everybody is moving the bond rates at like 5%. So you're going to put your money in bonds, and a lot of people are also taking profits over the last jack up before it comes back around. But like since oil prices and gold prices went up, so did bond yields. Everybody moves their money out of the stock market into bonds temporarily, and then if it starts looking like it's turning around, they get out of the bond and put it back in the stock market. This is the big money shuffle. Here's crude oil. It's at 85.92. The idea that it's going to go to 100 is what Russia is shooting for right now, as are the Saudis. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what they're shooting for. They want it to go to 100 again around the election. The weird thing is that we're still going to get within like 2.5% inflation, even if oil goes that high around the fall, which is going to be really fucking confusing for all the money printer go burr idiots. Yeah, you think Brent Crude sounds handsome, but naughty. He's a rough and tumble guy. So that's So needless to say, I pointed this out. Yeah, the other day. I'll bring some. I go. What is this? Ask me anything. Okay. What does? Sorry. How much money does the average Chick-fil-A make in a year? No, how much does a Chick-fil-A make? Okay, there we go. Yeah. I'm asking Copilot. There you go. Here you go. This since we're Friday eyeing it. Chick-fil-A annual income on average, a single Chick-fil-A restaurant, because Trump went in there. I thought this is a good kind of comparison point. Makes there you go. 8 Chick-fil-A franchise owner salary, revenue, profit. Okay, here we go. About Chick-fil-A. There you go. A Chick-fil-A franchise owner generates $8 million in sales on average. Truth Social made half of whatever your average Chick-fil-A made last year. And by the way, your average Chick-fil-A did not go into debt $58 million. Just saying. So in actuality, it made an average Chick-fil-A made 15 times, maybe closer to 16 times more money than Truth Social did. A single Chick-fil-A. I'm just saying, right? It's kind of crucial. Hi, Boston Brian. Is he lurking? He should lurk. It's good. It's nice to have him lurking about. Individual finance, annual revenue. That's 5.3, and then these are the costs and the total expenses. It's about $4 million to run. That direct revenue, salaries, about $1.1 million in salary to its employees a year. Royalty frees, you'll get 5%, so that's added money. Utilities, there you go. Cost of goods sold. Labor is variable. It's a secondary one. It's not just, it's hourly cleaners, whatnot. Right. Total expenses, 85%. Net profit, 15%. There you go. It makes, there you go. That's 700. That's the net profit afterwards. Whoever it is, they make the owner, whoever gets the profit the owner gets is about $795,000 a year. They make about $800K. The owner of a Chick-fil-A, the person behind the franchise. Now they have to dump something like $2 million in to get it started, and they're on the hook for, all these expenses. But in the end, the place makes a total of $8 million, and they get to keep 10% essentially. It says 50% of the overall, but they get 10% of the highest end of the profit. It seems if they average out at 7.6 or something like that. Yeah, 8 million, and then the person makes 795. So you're making 10%. of whatever the cost, whatever it does overall. The owner of the place, the person who got in behind it and all that shit, yeah, it costs you. Try a Burger King. That's a good question. Hold on, back up, go a pair, you silly thing. Let's see. How about Burger King? Whoops. I think it's gonna. Let's see. How much is Chick-fil-A? Copied. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to here. Start a new chat. This is pretty good. Quit scrolling down. I just want the bottom of the page, you goof. Oh, it's because I'm down here. There it is. How about Burger King? Searching for that. Annual revenue, Burger King overall is 1.9 billion. How much does a single Burger King take in revenue? Let's see. This impressive figure reflects an increase compared to the previous year. The total is 1.1, or 18,000, approximately 50 million customers a day. It's not telling me. It's being weird. See, Burger King 1.9 million. Global operations 1.8. United States significant. International markets brand value expansion 1954. Blah blah blah. Despite COVID-19. I don't know that I'm finding. And it's trying to go to Statista and it's running aground. Yeah. Yeah. How much does a single Burger King franchise make in a year? This would be the kind of generalized. Yeah. 1.4 million. It's about like a Starbucks. That's Starbucks is about 1.2. Yeah, the net profit from it. Therefore, franchise owners can expect to make $56,000 to $84,000 in net profits annually. So if you own a Burger King, keep it up and running. You're the owner, and you hire managers and cooks and cleaners and drive-through people and keep it clean and all that kind of shit, and it's up and functioning. You're making $56,000 to $84,000 a year. You must invest in books an initial investment ranging from $232,000 minimum to $4.5 million. It covers various expenses, including franchise fees, training, real property costs, equipment, and more, because it depends on where you build it. The franchise fee is $50K initial. The real property and occupancy is $300,000 to $1.5 million for whatever space you're going to get. For the equipment, it's going to be $200,000 to $300,000. Total estimate initial income or investment is $1.8 to $4.5 million to start a business that you will make $56,000 to $84,000 a year if you own the place. If you own the place. So, and then Wendy's won't be any different, nor will McDonald's. As you know, it's about the same shakedown. So all those Wendy's you see that got burned down. The super rich asshole that owns the Wendy's. Yeah. Yeah, they're smaller stores. They don't have the turnaround. And and there's a lot more of them. Yeah, that's not a lot. Yeah, you purchase the franchise and you do the thing, but it cranks out that money. Now, once you own it, technically speaking, you don't have to work there, I guess. If you know how to set them up and you have that initial fund, you can set it up and then you get $84,000 a year in your investment into this thing if nothing awful happens. It's a business you draw think of it as interest on that money, but it's quite an investment, right? Yeah, on average, a Burger King franchise can generate annual revenue of $1.4 million with a net profit of 4% to 6% of that revenue. However, this can be varied depending on the location, size of the store, level of competition, effective management, all that kind of stuff. You have to work there for the 84. And that kind of work is shit. Yeah. Well, most of the people who do absolutely work there. No question. It's there. Hey, but look, they're boosting. Maybe that's old news. Here's an article. They're boosting profitability. Yeah. After suffering a disappointing 2022, Burger King wasn't about to let it happen again. That year, the Burger King fell about 140,000 in store-level profits, down compared to 2019 and previous years, even though profitability rose 40% during Q4 2022. But Burger King recovered, average franchise profitability rose nearly 50% to $205,000 last year compared to 2022. There you go. According to the chain's earnings report released Tuesday, this average exceeded parent company Restaurant Brand International's initial expectations under its Fuel the Flame initiative, which targeted franchise profits of $175,000 in 2024, which is that was their goal. They set it at $175,000 so that people would want to open them, because I guess people were closing them. Also saw traffic growth, low single digits in the fourth quarter, as well as significant operation improvements comparable to 6.4% of Restaurant Brands International CEO Joshua Kobza said Tuesday. Yeah, so this is what people like. If you open up one of these, you make somewhere between, depending on where you're opening it, between $84,000 and $200,000 a year, if no one burns it down. I guess that would be the thing. And again, we all know, of course, that the profit margin at Target and Walmart is somewhere in the order of 2%. But hey, there are lots of investments. There's a lot of directions people can go. And in our final moment together, I want to leave you on a happy thought. I'll see you this afternoon for the regular show, but I want to. It's going to have to be high and tight, because I got a plane to catch tonight. And can I leave you with a little like happy fun time story real quick before we go out the door? What do you think? Is that all right? Excellent. Here you go, kids. Oh, thanks. It's gonna be 80 there tomorrow. That's fantastic. Yeah. Since we're talking about investment and making tough decisions and all that kind of stuff. Now, I know I had the same thought when I saw this. Fuck, she's never going to be able to pay back her PPP loans now. Hit that like, by the way. I'll see you later on this afternoon. Much love, and take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. I got to go pack. I have so much shit to do before the flight, because I have to take a guitar with me this time, which means a wireless system, which means a processor, which means they'll have a direct box there. I need show clothes and then regular clothes, and then I need to bring all my radio gear and all that stuff. And like, I just don't even know what maybe. Thank you guys so much. See you later on. Bye.